I stood at the service entrance of the Grand Plaza Hotel, my designer heels sinking slightly into the rain-soaked pavement. The red carpet and champagne welcome weren't for me. Those were reserved for the real family members attending my father's third wedding. "Miss Matthews," my assistant Thomas whispered through my earpiece, "the acquisition paperwork for the Grand Plaza Hotel chain is ready for your signature. Should I bring it to the main office?" "No," I replied quietly, watching my stepsister Amanda sweep through the main entrance in her bridesmaid dress. "Let's wait. Timing is everything today." I smoothed down my Chanel dress. Not that anyone in my family would recognize its subtle elegance. To them, I was just Catherine, the disappointment who chose hospitality management over law school. The daughter who wasted her inheritance from mom on a hotel management degree instead of joining the family's legal dynasty. "The service entrance is that way," Amanda's voice carried across the lobby as she spotted me near the main doors. "We can't have Dad's embarrassment ruining his perfect day." Perfect day. I suppressed a smile thinking about the documents sitting in my office on the top floor of this very hotel. Documents that would shock my entire family, especially my father who'd spent the last 5 years mocking my career choices. 5 years ago when I used my mother's inheritance to buy my first small hotel, they'd all laughed. Playing hotelier, my father had called it, while lavishing praise on Amanda for her junior partnership at his law firm. What they didn't know was that one small hotel had grown into Matthews Hospitality Group, one of the largest privately held hotel companies in the country. And today, in delicious irony, we were acquiring the Grand Plaza Hotel chain, including this very building where my father was about to celebrate his wedding. "Katie, darling," my stepmother-to-be Julia cooed falsely, spotting me near the entrance. "Amanda's right. The staff is using the service door today. We can't have you confusing the guests." I nodded politely, clutching my small clutch that contained more proof of my success than their entire family fortune. "Of course, Julia. We wouldn't want any confusion." As I walked toward the service entrance, I heard Julia whisper to Amanda, "Did you see her dress? Probably some outlet mall find. Thank goodness your father finally gave up on getting her to join the firm. If they only knew that my outlet mall dress cost more than Julia's entire wedding wardrobe." But unlike them, I didn't feel the need to broadcast my wealth with flashy labels and obvious brands. "Miss Matthews," Thomas's voice came through my earpiece again. "The hotel manager Mr. Phillips is looking for you. The transition team needs your approval on several matters." "Tell him I'll be up shortly," I murmured, pushing through the service door. "And Thomas, make sure all the paperwork is ready. I have a feeling we'll need it sooner rather than later." The service corridors of the Grand Plaza were immaculate. I'd made sure of that during my anonymous inspections over the past month. The staff nodded respectfully as I passed, none of them revealing that I was actually their new owner. My phone buzzed with a text from my father. "Katie, try not to mention your hotel work during the reception. We're having several important clients attend." Important clients. Like the Morrison Group, who'd recently switched all their corporate hospitality contracts to my company. Or the Asian Investment Consortium that had just signed an exclusive deal with Matthews Hospitality. Another buzz. "And please use the service entrance from now on. Amanda says you were trying to come through the main lobby." I reached my private elevator, the one my family thought was just for high-level hotel management, and pressed my fingerprint to the scanner. As I ascended to my office, I thought about the journey that had brought me here. When Mom died 6 years ago, leaving me her modest inheritance of $5 million, everyone expected me to follow the family path. Join the firm, my father had insisted. Stop this foolish fascination with hotels. Instead, I'd taken that money and my hotel management degree and bought a struggling boutique hotel. I worked every position from housekeeper to front desk, learning the business from the ground up. While Amanda and my father bragged about their legal victories at family dinners, I was quietly building an empire. Now Matthews Hospitality Group owned 30 luxury hotels across the country. And with today's acquisition of the Grand Plaza chain, that number would triple. "Miss Matthews," my secretary Lisa greeted me as I entered my plush top-floor office. "The transition team is waiting in the conference room. And your father's wedding planner has been trying to reach you. Apparently, there's some confusion about the ballroom setup." I smiled, thinking about the confusion I'd carefully orchestrated. Let them wait a bit longer. I have a wedding to attend first. Looking out my office window at the arriving wedding guests, I thought about the perfect moment to reveal the truth. Should it be during my father's self-congratulatory speech about family legacy? Or perhaps when Amanda inevitably makes some snide comment about my career choices? Miss Matthews, Thomas entered with a thick folder. The final contracts are ready. Once you sign, the Grand Plaza chain officially becomes part of Matthews Hospitality Group. I took the folder thinking about how quickly everything would change. In a few hours, my family would learn that the daughter they'd banished to the service entrance actually owned the entire building, and much, much more. Hold these for now, Thomas, I said, handing back the folder. I have a feeling the timing will present itself. As I prepared to head down to the wedding ceremony, I caught my reflection in the window. I saw what my family never bothered to see. Not just Catherine the hotel worker, but Catherine Matthews, CEO of a billion-dollar hospitality empire. Soon they would see it too. And I had a feeling the view from the service entrance would never look quite the same again. The wedding ceremony was exactly what you'd expect from a man who valued appearances above all else. Crystal chandeliers dripped from ceilings that my company now owned. Roses, imported from Holland at an obscene cost, filled the corners of our grand ballroom. And my father, standing at the altar in his bespoke suit, looked every inch the successful lawyer he'd spent his life becoming. The catering staff enters through the kitchen, Amanda hissed as I took my seat in the back row. You're making everyone uncomfortable. I smoothed my dress, checking my phone discreetly. The acquisition news was scheduled to break in exactly 2 hours, right in the middle of the reception. Miss Matthews, Thomas whispered through my earpiece. The London office is requesting your approval on the press release. And there's a situation developing with the hotel's executive chef. Of course there was. Julia had demanded last-minute menu changes that violated our standard protocols. Changes that, as of this morning, required the owner's approval. Tell Chef Marcus I'll handle it personally, I murmured, watching my father exchange vows with his latest bride. The ceremony proceeded with mechanical precision. Julia looked appropriately adoring, my father appropriately dignified, and Amanda appropriately superior as she stood among the bridesmaids. I noticed several of my father's prominent clients in attendance, all of whom had unknowingly been staying at my hotels for years. As the newlyweds kissed, my phone vibrated. A message from our PR team, Forbes reporter asking for comment on the acquisition. Apparently there's a leak. Perfect timing. The reception began with its usual parade of wealth and pretension. Amanda was holding court near the champagne fountain, regaling guests with stories of her latest legal triumph, a corporate merger she'd helped negotiate. It's the largest deal the firm has handled this year, she boasted, pointedly looking my way. Though I suppose some of us prefer simpler work. If she only knew that the hotel chain she was currently standing in had cost more than her firm's entire annual revenue. Catherine, my father approached, champagne in hand. I thought we discussed the service entrance. We did, I replied calmly. Just like we discussed my career choices 5 years ago. He flinched slightly at the reminder. That conversation had ended with him threatening to cut me off completely if I didn't join the firm. He'd been genuinely shocked when I'd chosen my little hotels over his legal empire. Speaking of career choices, Julia joined us, her new wedding ring catching the light. I heard the most amusing thing. Apparently, some major hotel chain is buying the Grand Plaza. Imagine all this luxury being turned into some corporate property. I took a sip of champagne, the exclusive vintage I'd personally selected for my hotels, and smiled. How interesting. Any idea who the buyer might be? Some nouveau riche hospitality group, Amanda interjected. Probably turning it into another soulless chain hotel. The irony was delicious. I checked my watch. 30 minutes until the press release. Suddenly there was a commotion near the kitchen. Chef Marcus had emerged, looking flustered, with Julia's demanded menu changes clearly causing chaos. We need the owner's approval, he was saying to the wedding planner. It's non-negotiable. The owner. Julia's voice rose. For a simple menu change? This is ridiculous. Don't you know who we are? I watched the scene unfold, counting down in my head. 3, 2, 1. Miss Matthews. The hotel manager, Mr. Phillips, rushed toward me, completely forgetting the secrecy we'd maintained for weeks. Thank goodness you're here. We need your signature on these menu changes, and the London office is still waiting for approval on the acquisition announcement. The room went silent. Every head turned in my direction. Amanda's champagne glass slipped from her fingers, shattering on the marble floor that I now owned. "Catherine." My father's voice cracked. "What is he talking about?" I stood slowly, enjoying the moment I'd waited 5 years to experience. "Well, Dad, remember how you said I was wasting my time with hotels?" Thomas appeared at my side, holding the acquisition papers with impeccable timing. "The thing is," I continued, taking the folder, "I wasn't just working in hotels. I was buying them, building them, creating something of my own while you were all busy mocking my choices." "That's impossible," Amanda sputtered. "You're just a hotel worker." "Actually," I opened the folder, pulling out the documents that would change everything. "I'm the CEO of Matthews Hospitality Group. And as of..." I checked my watch again. Exactly 3 minutes ago, we officially acquired the Grand Plaza Hotel chain. All 47 properties including this one. The silence was deafening. Julia had gone pale, her perfect wedding makeup couldn't hide her shock. Amanda was frantically Googling on her phone, probably searching for confirmation of what she'd just heard. And my father? He stood frozen, his carefully cultivated image of control crumbling as he realized that his disappointing daughter now owned the very building where he was celebrating his wedding. Now, I turned to Chef Marcus, about those menu changes. The chaos that followed was everything I'd imagined and more. But I was just getting started. Part 3 of my plan would teach them all what it really means to build a legacy. I caught my reflection in one of the ballroom's mirrors, seeing not the daughter they'd banished to the service entrance, but the woman who'd built an empire while they weren't looking. Sometimes the best revenge isn't making a grand entrance. It's owning the entire building. The reception hall had erupted into chaos. My father's prestigious clients were whispering among themselves, no doubt realizing that they'd been doing business with my hotels for years. Amanda was still frantically searching her phone, her face growing paler with each headline she found. Matthews Hospitality Group acquires Grand Plaza chain in $2.8 billion deal. Catherine Matthews, the silent hotel queen. Largest hospitality acquisition of the year. "Miss Matthews," Thomas appeared at my side. "The Forbes reporter is in the lobby. Shall I show them up?" I smiled, watching Julia attempt to salvage her perfect wedding reception. "No need. I think they'll find plenty to write about right here." My father finally found his voice. "Catherine," he started, his lawyer's instincts kicking in. "We should discuss this privately. As a family." "Family?" I raised an eyebrow. "Like when you made me use the service entrance. Or when you told your clients I was just hotel staff to avoid embarrassment." Amanda stepped forward, her legal training evident in her sudden change of attitude. "Katie darling, we had no idea you were so successful. We should talk about potential synergies between the firm and your hotels." "Synergies?" I laughed softly. "You mean now that you know I'm worth more than the entire Sullivan legal group, you want to collaborate?" The room went even quieter. No one had known the exact worth of my father's law firm, but they did now. Thomas handed me another folder and I continued, "Your firm's financial struggles aren't as secret as you think, Dad. Those clients you're losing? Many of them are staying at my hotels while meeting with your competitors." Julia, ever the social climber, tried a different approach. "Darling, this is wonderful news. We're so proud of what you've built. Aren't we, Richard?" She nudged my father. But I wasn't finished. "The Grand Plaza acquisition isn't just about adding properties to our portfolio. It's about transformation." I turned to address the entire room. "Starting tomorrow, this hotel begins a complete renovation. The Sullivan wedding was actually its last event under the old management." "What do you mean, last event?" Julia's voice rose in panic. "The hotel closes for renovations at midnight," I stated calmly. "All current guests will need to check out. Don't worry. We've arranged alternate accommodations at our other properties. Well, for most guests." My father's face had turned an interesting shade of red. "You're throwing us out? On my wedding day?" "Oh no," I smiled. "I'm simply implementing our standard renovation protocol. The fact that it happens to interrupt your wedding celebration is just, what did you call it earlier? A confusion about proper entrances." Thomas distributed press packets to the gathered guests. many of whom were already calling their offices about this developing story. The packets detailed not just the acquisition, but the complete rebranding of the Grand Plaza chain under Matthews Hospitality Group. "You can't do this," Amanda protested weakly. "Surely I can. And I am." I nodded to Mr. Phillips, who began directing his staff to prepare for the midnight closure. "But before everyone leaves, I have one more announcement." The room, which had been buzzing with shocked conversations, fell silent again. Matthews Hospitality Group isn't just acquiring hotels. We're launching a charitable foundation focused on hospitality education and career development. For those who want to learn the business from the ground up like I did. I paused, making eye contact with my father. The foundation's first initiative? Converting the Sullivan Legal Group's office building, which, by the way, I purchased last month through a subsidiary, into a hospitality training center. The shock on their faces was priceless. My father actually had to sit down, his perfect posture finally breaking. "You bought my building," he whispered. "Consider it poetic justice," I replied. "You always wanted me to join the family business. Now the family business is joining mine." The next hour was a blur of activity. Guests hurriedly checked out, journalists arrived to cover the story, and my family tried desperately to maintain their dignity while their perfect wedding fell apart around them. "Miss Matthews," Thomas appeared again. "The renovation team is ready to begin at midnight. And the foundation's board of directors has approved the training center plans." I nodded, watching my father huddle with his partners, no doubt trying to figure out how his dismissed daughter had outmaneuvered him so completely.